let's see what retired General Wesley Clark makes of all of this. Really an interesting person to talk about for obvious reasons with all of this, as he's the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. So General Clark, you know, I've been thinking, and I wonder if you've been even having these thoughts go through your head, especially in the last couple of days when this seems to have gone up a notch, about how you, if you were in that job as the NATO Supreme Allied Commander, would be handling this situation right now.
Well, as a military officer in NATO, I'd be looking to the political leaders to handle the situation, honestly, Connell. I wouldn't really have anything to say about it. This is a political, diplomatic brouhaha, has nothing to do with the military per se. Obviously, it has enormous consequences for military, but nothing that we could contribute to. So this would be resolved somewhere between the White House and the leadership in Europe. And to start with the bottom line up front, yes, it's a risk to NATO. I don't think it's going to come to that. I think this is the way that President Trump puts pressure on Europe, but there's no easy solution to this. It's going to have to be some kind of diplomatic, face-saving artifice. Maybe President Trump becomes the protector general of the Arctic and sets up a council. Maybe he gets acknowledged that the United States has, in writing, some special security responsibilities for the Arctic. Maybe there's a 50-year agreement that after 50 years, the people of Greenland can vote whether they want some kind of an association with the United States or not. Right. There are ways that diplomats will solve this, but for the military, there are enormous adverse consequences. It is important from a military security aspect that we have access to Greenland, that we can put our anti-missile missiles up there, that we can...
Which we could do, right? We could do more of if we want.
We know that as the ice recedes, there's more and more mineral wealth that's going to be discovered in a mercantilist, competitive world where we're on our own and can't trust buying anything from others outside the hemisphere. Greenland's going to be more important financially and economically to the United States. Right. But for now, the military, I think, on all sides of the Atlantic, we're holding our breath. We're hoping that the diplomatic superiors, political leaders will solve this successfully, keep NATO in place. You have to understand one final thought, Connell. Because of Ukraine and the Russian pressure in Ukraine, President Trump has extraordinary leverage over these European leaders. They can't handle Ukraine without the United States, and they know it.
So that leverage will be used how in the end? Because it sounds like you're taking, even though the president has not, or just maybe it's more of a hope, but you're taking military action or the use of the United States military against a NATO ally kind of off the table, saying that that's not realistic. So address that if you can, and then also talk about how you think that leverage could be used effectively.
I think military action is not realistic. I mean, we do have a treaty organization. By the Constitution, those legal treaties are U.S. law. So U.S. military people would be violating U.S. law if they took action militarily. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think there's a lot of leverage going to be applied against the Europeans. And I hope that we can solve this in a satisfactory, non-escalatory way that lets us focus on the near-term threat of Ukraine, which is still a big problem for the United States and Europe.
Are you worried about NATO, though? Are you worried about the future of NATO?
Of course. I worry about it every day because, you know, starting really in 2014, we violated the U.S. pledge to protect Ukraine's sovereignty. Mm-hmm. The Obama administration told the Ukrainians, don't worry about it, give Crimea to Putin. That was a violation of the 1994 Budapest Agreement. Mm-hmm. And we just haven't done enough to help. We could have stopped this. We could have put Mr. Putin back on the bottle a long
So it's been going on.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.